So I believe you have to visualize what it's going to be before it is. So before we ever had this warehouse or any of this inventory, I would put that in my mind that this is how it was going to be at some point. So every day after work, when everyone's gone, I come back in here and I turn off all the lights, and then I imagine where it's going to be next. So I stand back here and I look at the inventory and I imagine having more inventory. I imagine having the building next to us, and it's almost like I believe it's already happened. And I see it, I visualize it in my head that it's already happened and taken place. And the other thing I think is very important is have belief in the product that you're giving to people. So the second thing that I do every day back here is visualize where these shirts are going, who they're going to, and how it helps them to mentally or emotionally overcome something in their lives. I think of the shirts having almost like a spiritual power for people. When they put it on, they feel stronger, they feel more empowered, they feel better about themselves and their lives. And so I kind of push that energy into our product, into this building every afternoon or every evening. So Apeman is an apparel brand that my brother and I started in 2014. We started in the powerlifting arena, and we've kind of expanded into MMA in the last year or so. But we really exist to inspire people to overcome things in their lives, whether it be a mental issue they're having, a physical issue, or an emotional issue. The whole idea of the brand is to give people encouragement to overcome those things. I grew up here in Phoenix in the 70s and 80s. Looking back, where we grew up wasn't the best of areas or circumstances. When you're young, you don't know any different. When my parents divorced, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, my dad worked. And I was in 6th grade when they separated. During that time, because my mom had gone back to work, money was very tight. And I don't think, like I said, as a kid, you don't realize your circumstances, but I remember times where our water heater would be completely out and she couldn't afford to fix it. So we'd be taking really fast cold showers every day for a month or two till the water heater got fixed. She had a couple of different jobs. She did some sales, but on weekends we would go down and do janitorial cleaning of buildings in this area where we are at now just to make extra cash. So Noah and I would go help her do that. We'd, vacuum the shop up and take out the garbage and just, wipe down the desk and things like that. We do that on, Friday or Saturday night. And I remember her being scared to leave because the neighborhood was not great and it was dark. And we'd all get to the door of the building to leave a glass door, and we'd look out and we'd all look in the parking lot, make sure no one was out there walking around. And then she'd go, "All right, go." And we'd open the glass door and we'd run to the car and lock it all up to make sure we weren't gonna get attacked or whatever. But yeah, I remember doing that as a kid. So I remember I was going into junior high and my mother came to me and she says, "I gotta go back to work if we wanna keep this house. And your brother is gonna have to go to after school daycare, or you can come home and you can watch him for me, whatever you want." I said, "Well, I can't have him in daycare, obviously." So I decided that I was just gonna come home. We were gonna hang out together every day, and that's what we started doing. So from 7th grade on, it was him and I after school every day till probably 6 or so at night.
So growing up, I always had, I had like a learning disability, and so I struggled getting up in front of people or having to read in the class. And so I feel like that kind of made me reserved in a way. And my brother was always super intense, and he was always center of attention, and that was his deal. So he kind of took over. We were together all the time. Whenever there was a conversation, he was there and I'd sit back. So we've always kind of just been that way.
Now that I'm older, I look back in our childhood, there was some rough things in our neighborhood, rough kids in our schools, rough things we went through together as brothers with our parents. But all those things kind of bring you closer together with the people in your family, or at least me and my brother brought us closer together. When I graduated, I switched over at that point to the College of Business, and I got a marketing degree with a minor in sales. And I went out and I started learning commercial finance and commercial real estate. And then I started a commercial real estate and finance firm. And by every every measure you would have growing up where I did, I was successful. I had the nice car, I had the house, I had a Rolex watch, I had all these things that you would measure as successful. And this is during 2000, about 2008, and I was miserable. I was not happy. You're going to work every day doing something you don't love to do for this money to buy these things that you don't even get to enjoy, and it doesn't even matter at the end of the day because all that success is man-made ideas. If you're not happy and your soul's not fulfilled with what you're doing as a career, you're not gonna feel successful at all. It doesn't matter how much money comes in.
I went to work for my stepdad, and I was doing construction and metal stud framing and whatnot. And I was living with my parents. I think I lived with my parents till I was 25. I was never into material things and whatnot. And so I collected money and I bought a little manual t-shirt press. And then I hit my grandpa up and I said, I'm gonna buy a press and a dryer and I'm gonna start printing shirts. Do you have a little office space where I can set up and start doing my stuff? And he set me up in this building that we're in now.
So in '08, the real estate market crashed. And I was forced, my partner had a complete nervous breakdown. He disappeared, he was in the hospital, and I was forced to start closing down these offices that we had built up around the country. We had 5 or 6 offices at that time. There was a point in time where I hadn't paid my mortgage in I don't know how many months. I hadn't paid any of my credit cards. And I had all this company debt from my real estate company, and I had no food in the house. At that point, I had a job. I have my own real estate company. I had a second job with another company. I had a job at the bank doing loans now. I worked for Mutual of Omaha Bank, and then I would come print shirts with my brother for cash.
And then he was coming down and he was helping me print shirts and stuff. And I didn't realize that he wasn't making any money, and he needed to start printing the shirts so that he could, buy his family food and whatnot. I mean, it was that bad.
So I'd come down here, we would print shirts, no one would pay me, per hour to print shirts for them. And I slowly, in lifting weights and kind of going through that grind, we started to talk about Apeman and the brand. And that's where it was born for me, because I had these business partners in real estate that completely bailed out on me and had nervous breakdowns and disappeared. And I stayed in that grind in that real estate company all by myself. And I started seeing like men nowadays, at the time it was just in my mind about other men because that's what I related to. Men nowadays are soft and they're weak and they're not willing to fight through things, and they give up and they quit, and they're not like the generations of the past, like I saw my grandfather be, where hell or high water, I'm making it happen. And so the original idea was just about a more of a lifestyle idea of a brand, about just pushing through stuff in your life and not giving up. And we started Apeman Strong right here in this little spot we're sitting. It was the gym right here.
He came up with the idea, we got to start this business. So I drew a couple designs up and whatnot, and we printed a couple shirts for ourselves, and we were kind of lifting them and whatever. And he started sending them out to people, lifters and stuff, to wear them. I'm like, dude, I haven't even finished the logo up yet, I'm still working on it, but the way he is, he's pushing it, and I'm kind of the perfectionist, I want things completely dialed in, and they're never ready in my eyes.
So what happened then was we had formulated the idea, we had the name, I started to kind of do the website, he was still working on the logo, and I sold a commercial property that I had been managing for a woman. It was a decent sale for me, and I took that money and I paid off all my real estate debt, and I put enough in the bank to where I said, I have like 4 or 5 or 6 months to make this happen. So that's it, we're doing it. So whatever the logo was at the time, which is this was the logo, that's it, it's final, start printing shirts, I gotta sell them, we have to make this happen now, this is my chance.
He's like, we gotta go, we gotta get the website, we gotta do the deal. And I was like, dude, I could tweak the logo a little bit, I could make this a little better. And he's like, dude, we don't have time for that. We gotta go. I didn't realize, but he didn't have any money, he was broke. So he was pushing it because it was what he needed,
Oh man. Thick, man.
I never had the vision early on of it being this big. What happened was we started getting those letters from people, and then it became almost a quest for both of us that, hey, this product and this message and what we're doing is helping people in a deeper way than we had originally intended or imagined that it could. And so I almost feel a responsibility or an obligation to put it out there to as many people as possible, because if you can help one person, if you get that email from one person, it makes so much more of a difference in your own life than just getting a shirt sale or getting the money. So the mission that we were on became bigger than I ever thought it was going to be. And now I feel a responsibility to continue, I guess, the path that we're on as quickly and as far as we can go. The brand kind of started to be more about, again, positive use of that rage that you're feeling or anger. And then we started to get letters from people, and I have one that I can read for you, but I have a letter, the first letter we ever got, and it was from a woman that wrote us through Instagram, and the gist of the message was, I really relate to your brand. Years of therapy hasn't done for me what weightlifting or fitness has done for me, and I was molested as a child, and my mother was abused by my father, and your brand really speaks to me. I feel like I can relate to what you guys are about. I feel part of something. So we got that message. We were in here working out right where we're sitting, and we got that message on our phones, and I go, man, I read it to Noah, and it was like this awakening, like, you're not really selling shirts, you're not really selling apparel. You're selling strength to people in themselves to overcome things in their life, and that's really what the brand then started to evolve into.
When we first started the brand, it was really because men were getting soft, you know? So when we got this letter from a female and she liked what the brand represents, we were like, man, it's more than that, you know?
So we started getting more and more of these letters from people, and we started to put a file into our email, and then we added to our website, tell us your story. I think in the beginning it starts off as about what you're going through, what me and Noah are going through, and how I'm gonna put this on a shirt. I'm upset about the guys that bailed on me in business, or I'm upset about my childhood, or whatever, and you start to just kind of put out what you really are in a product. And all of a sudden, here comes a bunch of other people that relate to that. And then it becomes about the entire community of Apeman and not just about what we are.
It truly is helping other people through stuff. And that's what speaks to my brother and I the most.
Every day that's the discussion. How can we reach more people? How can we help more people? How can we increase the influence of what we're doing to more people? And that's really all that we're doing. The shirts are just a byproduct of that, or part of it. This is the school I went to from kindergarten through 6th grade. And for me, during this period of my life is probably where, I shouldn't say all of my struggles, but where a lot of my struggles took place with family things and just things going on in my life. So when I'm gonna write any of our shirt meanings about overcoming anything or fighting through things in your life, or just even our scar shirt, I always do it here. I come here every day after work, and I feel like I got to be back in the environment where I went through those things in order to write about them clearly. So when we were just in this little side over here of this building, and I would print shirts all day long in the back, and I would pack them up in my car, and I would drive them home, and I would ship them out from my house. In my mind, it was already bigger than that. I was already gonna take over this whole building, which we did this last year, and now I'm already thinking of the building next to us. I think you have to have a vision of where your company is going to be and believe it is already there and operate from a position of such to get there. So what's ironic is when we shot the first part of this video, I talked about how I already in my mind had this building next door as ours, and then about a week after we shot that, they called me up and said we could have it if we wanted it. So we just took over this building next to us. So now we'll have double the space. So we're gonna move our production facility or part over here. We can add more presses an embroidery machine in-house, stickers, banners, everything, all ourselves in here. And then inventory and shipping will stay over on the other side.
I just continue doing what I like to do. That's how we started, and that's how it's gotten to where it's at. So I continue to see it growing, you know, if we just continue down that path and not get sidetracked with money or any other outside, you know, thing. It's basically just helping people, and it's just going to continue to grow if that's the case.
So every day when everyone leaves and it's all dark, I go back in the back of that building and I stand there for probably 5 minutes or so, and I visualize this building full of people working, full of energy, going out, almost like out of the building to the world. And then I look at every shirt and I think of every shirt helping someone in their life, whether it be they're sick and it's going to help them overcome an illness, whether it be something from their past they need to mentally overcome. I imagine them getting the shirt and them feeling better for it, and I put that energy out there every single day, and I think that's super important to do. You have to believe in what you're doing. The second you lose faith in what you're doing or what it's going to be, it's over.